Hi there, welcome. My name is Simon Girvin and welcome to another instalment of Launching Agile Projects as we board the Inception Deck to understand another artefact in a little bit more detail. In this episode, we're going to be investigating the product box. Now this is another innovation idea and one that is, again, a bit like the elevator pitch, easy to skip past and easy to really overlook as something that's a little bit silly or a little bit hard. I want to dispel a myth straight off the bat. There is no requirement to be at all good at art for the product box to be really powerful as a tool in your Inception Deck. I'll show you Exhibit A. I am not very good at art and I managed to build this in 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So let's think about what the product box is all about. Imagine your product is on a shelf in a store alongside your competitors. What's going to make it stand out? Now, it's not going to be the features. It's quite easy to make your features quite similar to your other competitors' features. So that's not going to be the differentiation. What is? Imagine your product and how it makes your customers feel. Think about the benefits and the feelings and the emotions rather than the features and the logical things. And that's what this is powerful. When we start thinking about logic, we're thinking with a different part of the brain. So if we can switch that into the right hand side of the brain and think about emotions and feelings, we're going to be using different parts of our brains and we're going to be thinking of different things. And that means you're going to get different insights into your product. That's quite true of lots of these artifacts actually. They're all about making us think a little bit differently and especially thinking differently from how we normally think or how we're used to thinking in normal product development strategies or in project management structures. So let me give you an example. I worked with a team and the product happened to be a multilingual product, and somewhere in the requirement spec there was going to be something about being multilingual. But we did this exercise with the Inception Deck and some of the users were doing the product box exercise and they were having a great time. It didn't give them all that much time, but some of the things they wrote in the box are really interesting. So the two things they wrote that were really interesting was they wrote that it was a friendly system and they wrote the product name, the kind of project name in two languages. Their local language and in English. Now taking those two things together gave a really strong insight into the product. A friendly system and a multilingual system, well, if English is not my first language, it's going to be friendlier, especially in early versions of the product, if it's in my more familiar language. So even though this multilingual requirement was buried away somewhere in the non-functionals, for the users, it was much more significant. And that's a really powerful insight, and that might make a difference, for example, to the order I put features in, or the way that I plan my MVP, or the way that I execute my testing. So it's a really important thing to give you different insights into your product. Now, it doesn't have to be a box. Those boxes are quite good, they're relatively cheap. I think I paid in the UK something like £40 for 100 boxes. And having a box that's a bit tactile is quite a nice thing to do. Again, getting away from computers and flip charts and bits of paper and whiteboards forces people into a slightly different way of thinking. Anything unusual will cause you to think a bit differently. So having a box really does make this exercise work well, but it doesn't need to be a box. You can do this on flip chart paper, on whiteboards, on online tools, anything that just gets you thinking differently. But be a bit creative. Have coloured pens, stickers, give people time. A bit like the elevator pitch, this rewards a little bit of investment of time. It doesn't need to be masses, maybe half an hour, 40 minutes. And if you're doing this with a team for real, as opposed to, for example, in a workshop, let them have the time that they can invest into the product, and maybe that's something that they're going to keep. Put it on their table at work, take a picture of it, have it on their background, have it around the team as a reminder of what their customers said they wanted and a reminder of the different insights into the product, that once they do get into that phase of going through user stories and lists of requirements, having a product box sat there on the table is a nice reminder of what really matters to the customers. So this is about feelings and emotions, not logic. Think about what differentiates your product from your competitors and what's going to make it stand out. And this might give you insights that are very surprising, just like that example I showed you. So that's the product box, an innovation idea. Feels a bit silly, but give people 10 or 15 minutes and they'll really get into it. Really worth doing. I hope you find that useful. Thank you for listening, and join me next time as we board the Inception Deck and explore yet more artifacts to help us launch successful Agile projects. Bye now.